Happy to take any questions on top of
topics first.
Yeah, Governor, there seems to be an elephant in the room here, right? I mean, the right side of your press conference today has essentially been begging the left side for some legislative changes when it comes to punishment for people who are captured during some of these crimes. In the past, you've been open to some changes to the criminal justice reforms. Are you open to more, or is that a closed book for you?
What I would say is we needed the benefit of time to see whether or not what I put in place, changes to the bail laws that were enacted in 2019, that I came in as governor in 2021 and knew that we needed changes as soon as possible. Secured a number of them in 2022, even more in 2023, and I believe if you look at the numbers on how the rearrest rate has gone down. It was 24% before we took these steps. It is now down to 14% statewide. Also, I want everyone to look at the fact that we put in place laws that give prosecutors and judges the tools they need. There is a disparity, a statewide disparity in how these are being applied. Look at the numbers. Separately elected judges asked to follow the guidelines, the new laws we put in place. Prosecutors the same. And so, Marcos can go into detail on that at some point or give you a briefing offline, but it is rather telling to know that it's not the laws that need to be changed, it is the application of them. And that's what we've learned with the review of data that we'll be happy to release today.
Is there anything the state can do? I mean, there have been a lot of changes in those last 4 years, right? So I think maybe what's getting lost in translation is some judges or some DA's offices don't know where the distinction is and don't want to do the wrong thing. So is there any sort of mechanism at a state level that can help explain what the options are?
Well, very good point. We called upon the Office of the Court Administration that oversees the entire judicial system here in New York to conduct training. To my knowledge, the training is going on. Marcos, can you confirm that? Or
Yep.
It's ongoing. They've been directed to do that because I knew you change the laws, they're accustomed to applying a certain way. Again, a lot of these happened in 2019. So we're shifting it back. There's more tools for the judges, more factors for them to consider that were not there before. We also added 40 new crimes, including hate crimes, to be bail eligible that had not been bail eligible before. So yes, education's always important. There's judicial training going on. District attorneys have their statewide associations, but it is very obvious to me that some are willing to accept the changes, apply them properly, happy that they're doing that. Others are not, and that's important to distinguish.
What are you educating the judges on? Because the fact that, this 17-year-old involved in Thomas Park's incident is described by police as a career criminal at the age of 17 and on parole and now in youth park court. He was out and running around and stole a Kia and is now allegedly responsible for this man's death.
Is this the one that went before a judge in Tituaga?
Yes.
This went before a judge in Tituaga. And again, the discretion of the judge who could have said, this is a bail eligible case. That's where we have empowered judges to do this. They have their discretion. They are elected by the public. And I think it's important people understand that distinction. Anything to add on that, Marcos?
Yes. I would also add in that particular case, because the person was on parole, every parolee or every person on probation is eligible for bail. So as the governor is indicating, it's up to the enforcement agency and it's up to the judge to make the right decision with regards to the release of the individual or not.
How do you nail that down, though? Because it seems like this is happening. It was a woman who was killed in front of her child like a week and a half ago, less than 2 weeks ago here. And a judge 5 days before that allowed the ankle bracelet to be taken off. This person was a violent offender in the past, a domestic violence case. He had been violent to her in the past. Why can't we nail down, very specifically, you can do that, why your judges have so much discretion? I know we elect them to have some, but what's happening with this?
I'm just as frustrated as you are and the members of this community because we knew that the laws need to be changed. We changed the law. It was not an easy task. We were successful in that. And now there's an education process. But that being said, many judges are doing the right thing. Otherwise, you would not see this number go down from 24% of cases down to 14. So let's look at the bigger picture. There have been dramatic shifts in the outcomes when people are arrested and what happens to them because of the changes we have. Now, what is maddening to us are those cases as you described. How I can get into a courtroom and tell a judge to apply it a certain way is not the easy thing to do here. Education, coverage, calling out, saying not okay, not acceptable, why did you do this? And I'm standing with these families of the victims. I mean, this is what breaks my heart, to know that you can't point to a law and say that's the reason. The law is there now to give the judges and the prosecutors the discretion that was taken away from them. It is now back. And we expect a different outcome. Anything else to add on that?
I would, even if it's after, love to talk to you about the education part, but I don't want to hold this up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 25 state police are being sent to Rochester. Is there any specific detail we're looking at there? Are we talking about homicide investigations? Are we talking about traffic detail? I mean, right now, our PD does really no traffic detail in the city. So what are the actual roles that state police are?
I will ask the superintendent to answer that question, but it is literally getting down to the foot patrol. I mean, this is, the visible presence when you see law enforcement in a community. It has a powerful deterrent effect, as well as they are connecting with the community and can help bring clues and develop relationships where someone who maybe didn't come before is willing to tell something, that they saw something. This is how we solve the problems well. So it's a preventative measure. It's also a case-solving measure as well. But just even activating the drones and bringing the drones technology. Our teams are trained. They know how to do this. The license plate readers, again, in some areas it's new technology, but we know how to use that. We've used it successfully. Again, not in a faraway place, but right here in Rochester, when we drove down the theft of automobiles to a shockingly high number a year ago when I came here, brought millions of dollars, resources, police, equipment, and it worked so successfully. So we're bringing that same sense of urgency to this problem right now, but I'll let the superintendent detail what they'll be doing.
Yeah, it's just essentially the seriousness of the crime got us here, right? In essence, the success that we've had so far, we're simply looking to capitalize on that. And really what we're doing is expanding the resources with the respective host law enforcement agencies. It's going to be gathering intel. It's going to be eyes and ears. It's going to be proactivity with our uniform patrols. But also, we've got other resources. We've got an auto theft unit that can supplement the resources that are currently in place. We have community resource intel individuals. We have crime victim specialists. We have a host of resources that we can bring to the table, and if there's a gap, we can serve as a multiplier, force multiplier. And I'm not privy to necessarily put a timeline because this is going to be trends driven. Where the crime is, we'll continue to put the resources, and we'll gather intel and replicate this throughout the area.
To clarify there, one of those gaps being filled is heightened surveillance. That's one of the things.
Absolutely, yes.
And then time for one more question?
Yes, I have one. I know New York State is one of the states where judges are not supposed to consider the dangerousness of a crime rather than them being a flight risk. Can you kind of talk about that? And a lot of critics are viewing that as bail reform not being effective for this. Can you kind of just explain?
I encourage them to read the letter of the law because I helped write this. Every factor that would use, when I ask you what is dangerous, you will tell me to look at past history, guns involved, is there an order of protection? All that is baked into the law. The language is clear. It'll lead to the person to the conclusion. You analyze this, apply the facts to these metrics, these standards, you'll be able to easily determine whether this individual is dangerous. So that's a false argument. All right, thanks everybody, appreciate it.
Chanel, you did get it.
Okay.
Just for if there's any presence still with the National Guard at the Holiday Inn on State Street in regard to the asylum seekers.
My understanding is there's no more asylum seekers at the hotel, so there's no need to have the National Guard there. In fact, we don't believe there's any more asylum seekers in hotels anywhere in Monroe County. They've all been housed, and again, many are getting jobs, which was our plan. And I'd also point out that we have a database we put together with 52,000 jobs. Employers have come forward and says they want to hire these individuals as soon as they get their work authorization. Half of those jobs are in upstate New York. So the employers are anxiously awaiting the opportunity to put them into jobs. Many of them on upstate now have homes and are working. So no more in hotels. All right, thanks everybody.